And now it's the turn of Katarína Melichová from the Slovak University of Agriculture, who will be speaking about the case of Nitra.
Good afternoon. So our case was also pretty special. Right from the start, in the moment where Mar, as a chief coordinator, approached us to participate in this project, me and Sonia, who were with the project from the start, knew right away which neighborhood we wanted to work with. Because at that time, we just started to feel the effects of one of the major investments of the past couple of years in Slovakia, which is the arrival of Jaguar Land Rover automobile plant in Nitra. This investment, although it brought jobs to the city, it also created these new types of peripheries, new types of borders, new types of isolation. One of the neighborhoods that felt this most profoundly is the neighborhood of Dražovce. Now, Dražovce, it's a city district, but it still retains a very rural character in architecture, in urban structure, but also in way of life. This neighborhood was once a municipality that was not part of the city, but was forcefully integrated during the socialist regime. Another key characteristic of this neighborhood is that it's ethnically mixed. It has a large share of population of Roma community. One of the most segregated elementary school, which is almost only exclusively attended by Roma children, is also located in this neighborhood. Now, our idea of how to approach of reintegrating this neighborhood with the main city was to work alongside the newly built cyclotraffic corridor that runs along the Nitra River, which is consequently one of the most polluted rivers in Slovakia and wider regions. But we also needed some spark, something to build on, and we knew right away that the right answer was actually Hyde Park community. Hyde Park community and Hyde Park Culture and Community Center was built by a handful of young activists and enthusiasts some 15 years ago, where they just naturally, spontaneously revitalized a former illegal landfill and created something truly special and something that is the very definition of grassroots, because they did it without any outside help, and it was the evolution of the space was very natural. And we knew we needed this community because we needed somebody who already has a social capital in the city, who already has a network of stakeholders who utilize the space or cooperate with this community in some different manner to build on. So this is how we became the VP4 project partners, the university as the academic sector, the city of Nitra as the public sector participant or partner, and the Hyde Park community. Now, what we wanted to create is to create community-led, inclusive public green spaces along this corridor to connect not just these spaces that were naturally disconnected by years of interventions, but also to connect different people, not just a Roma community and the Slovak community in Dražovce, but also as of 2020 with the onset of war in Ukraine, this the already large community of migrants from Ukraine and Serbia also attracted war refugees from Ukraine, which consequently became almost our most biggest target group by the end of the project. So first, I will start with some of the visionary integrated solutions that we deployed. All of the solutions that were built were neither of them were bought or subcontracted in a way that they already existed. So all of them are new design, bespoke designs that were co-created by our designer, but also with cooperation with the final beneficiaries and users of this space. This includes a community kitchen in a Mongolian yurt, but that also doubles as a space for community cultural events, but also for yoga exercises. Other ones were art installations in public spaces that were delivered through participatory site-specific art residencies with local but also international artists. Community workshop also provided the tools and the space that the stakeholders actually used to deliver other functional art solutions. The urban furniture that was built used either waste material found in the pilot area, but also patented Slovak technology, for example, like the ones you can see in the bottom row that uses plastic terrazzo, which is a patented Slovak technology of reusing non-recyclable plastic material. All of these elements transformed different places along this route. For example, the previously unused floodway area of the Nitra River, which is a environmentally very important area because it serves as a floodway for when the level of the river rises, was transformed into usable green public space through terrain modulations, establishment of public picnic meadows. Then we worked at the segregated Roma school where our subcontractor, the students of landscape architecture, worked together with the children themselves to transform their schoolyard. The already established community garden doubled in its size to also include communal spaces, but also educational spaces for the gardeners who attend them. All in all, almost 20,000 new square meters of usable green public space was added to the pilot area. However, before all of this even started, we knew we had to invest time and energy into capacity building and the engagement. Now, how we did this is that on the project level, our community activators were educated, were trained by Design for Change in their methods, by Tesserae in their methods, but also we passed this knowledge and also involved other experts from the local area into training additional members of the team and even some in-hub members in the co-design processes. The co-design, to co-design to function properly and to truly involve the most vulnerable, for example, the Roma community, creative ways need to be employed. One of the most successful was the BioBlitz event, or participatory phytosociological analysis, where school children with their teachers, with our experts, actually analyze the compositions of the greenery, the meadows already in the area, which actually inform the final solutions and themselves, and also expose these children maybe for the first time to STEM, for example. The most successful co-designed interventions were those where the co process or the elements, the phases of the co process were run simultaneously. For example, the combination of the soft and hard solutions which we already heard from the other pilot cities, and the merging of the co-design and co-deployment, for example, in methods like participatory site-specific art residencies, is what actually allow us to achieve these interventions with the involvement of the local community, of the stakeholders that use this space. However, what we learned is that we ran a couple of volunteer type programs to deliver, to co-deploy these solutions. But what we learned is that that we shouldn't take volunteers for granted. So volunteers were not just a cheap labor force used for the engagement purposes and for the co-deployment, or because we promised that in the grant agreement, but that these types of interventions, these types of policies actually need to provide the volunteers with something tangible, new skills, and something back for their time and their work in their interventions. And actually we have present with us here today one of the subcontractors, a landscape architect who actually worked with Roma children, with students, with volunteers, and directly involved them in the transformation of these spaces. And these type of activities and these type of efforts is actually what translates into more effective co-management, because we don't leave just the spaces, the revitalized public green areas, but we also leave the capacities and the skills needed for the community to further take care of the solutions. And now for the science part of the science field, what actually changed is that in the refugee community, we found that actually the part of the pilot area, the Hyde Park, was frequented more by the refugee community that was newly established in Nitra. And what we found when we ran a questionnaire study is that those refugees that attended these green spaces, which can be considered a community-built, co-created green spaces, exhibited greater satisfaction with life than Ukrainian refugees and community of refugees that frequented other green spaces around the city, but also they spent more time in green public spaces, and the time that they spent there, it was of greater quality. They interacted more with their friends, they interacted more with their community than the control group. Another important finding was that the effect of the co process versus just the solutions themselves. In certain parts, the involved stakeholders stated that the process itself brought greater impact for the health and well-being, especially subjective well-being and social well-being, like the sense of belonging, cohesion, than the co-created spaces themselves. And in the end, what's in the future for this initiative in Nitra? Along the deployment of the interventions, we also started to feel the need for the educational, the capacity building part to become permanent fixture of the city. This is why we, from the university side, entirely new study program was launched, which is entirely inspired by the Inhabit project, and we are scheduled to receive first students this September. Other application activities that we also hope to make permanent involved reaching out to secondary schools from the entire region, teaching them the co-design methods that we tested, for them to test them on their fellow classwomen, and participately also realize these small interventions in their schoolyard. So thank you for your attention.